Good evening, Commissioners, staff and members of the public. I declare the Ordinary Council meeting of 26 November 2025 open at 5:30. I wish to acknowledge the Kariyarra people as the traditional custodians of the land we're meeting on. I recognise their strength and resilience and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. This meeting is being live streamed and audio recorded to facilitate community participation and for minute-taking purposes, which may be released upon request to third parties. In accordance with Clause 6.16 of the Town of Port Hedland Standing Orders Local Law 2014, members of the public are not permitted to use any visual or audio, electronic device or instrument to record the proceedings of any meeting unless that person has been given permission by the presiding member to do so. Members of the public are also reminded that in accordance with Clause 6.174 of the Standing Orders, mobile telephones must be switched off and not used during the meeting. I note that all Commissioners are present and their attendance will be listed under item 3.1 of the minutes. There is no attendance by telephone. CEO, do we have any apologies?
There are no apologies, Chair.
Thank you. CEO, do we have any approved leave of absence?
No, Chair.
Item 3.5, disclosures of interest. Does anyone wish to declare an interest for any of the items in the agenda this evening? Item 4, there's another application for leave of absence. A procedural motion to order of business. I move that Council amend the 26 November 2025 Ordinary Council meeting order of business as set out in Council Policy 1/017 to deal with item 8 announcements by presiding member without discussion before item 5 response to previous questions. Can I have a seconder?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Aldridge. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be back here in Port Hedland. You'll notice that what we're trying to do is instate or reinstate the conventional practices of local government. And there are certain things that in most other councils around the state happen during council meetings, the first of which is that the presiding officer usually makes an opening statement and then moves on, and we're instituting that as we go on. Tonight, what we will also be doing is so that, particularly so that I don't drone on and we don't extend the meetings to inordinate time, we won't be reading out every single word of every single motion. In most other local governments, motions are as read on the screen and they're obviously available to members of the public online in advance of the meeting. So we will be doing that moving forward, and there are a whole range of things that happen right the way across the state in local government that this local government over time has deviated from, and given that there's an incredible amount of work underway at the moment to improve the operations of councils right the way across Western Australia, that's certainly the direction that we intend to move towards. The second thing I'd like to talk about tonight is the imminent departure on Friday of our CEO, Mark Dacomb. Mark has been with the town for 12 months as acting CEO, and under the Local Government Act isn't allowed to be with us for any longer. But I would like to, on behalf of the Commissioners and the Council, and I think the local community, thank Mark for your remarkable commitment to Port Hedland. And in the face of some quite challenging times over not just your time as acting CEO, but prior to that too, and sincere thanks, Mark. You've made us feel incredibly welcome, and we've appreciated all the support and guidance that you've given us over our brief time here to date.
Thank you, Chair.
In terms of CEOs, this evening we will go in camera to consider the appointment of a new acting CEO who will be joining us as soon as humanly possible. And we'll have more to say about that at the, well, we hope, assuming they accept the offer that we agree tonight, will be joining us shortly. In terms of the longer term process of appointing a permanent CEO, we're now very heavily engaged with that process. We had a very strong response, actually, a very strong field. So we're now in the process of shortlisting and interviewing candidates for the permanent CEO role, acknowledging that one of the most important things that we can do is deliver strong, stable leadership, and appointing a CEO who's got the right skills mix will be integral to that. And so we're cracking on with that, and we consistently get feedback from the community, people saying to us, when are you going to do that? That is a first order of business, as I say, I've said several times now. In terms of things that we've been doing, Commissioner Aldridge and I had the incredible privilege to attend the ceremony naming the new ship Pilbara, which will, HMAS Pilbara, as she'll be known, an Arafura class vessel down in Henderson. Port Hedland will be her ceremonial port, and I particularly want to thank the Kariyarra people for the water gathering ceremony and the water that was gathered right here outside the office, or just up the road here, from Port Hedland was the water in the bottle that was smashed over the hull of the HMAS Pilbara, and it was a great event and something that I think as a community we can all be very proud of. And although it might be some time before the ship herself comes here, we certainly look forward to welcoming the ship's company, and we expect that to happen hopefully around some of our really significant community events like Anzac Day and the like. So we very much look forward to that. This morning we had an absolutely fantastic catch-up with the Port Hedland Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and I want to thank the PHCCI for making us feel really welcome. A very robust and interesting conversation, and some really interesting issues that were raised in that conversation. We had a fantastic meeting this afternoon with the Youth Advisory Council, and what a remarkable group of young people we have here in Port Hedland, and I will say some pretty strong women, and I think it's great how engaged they are in civics and how much they want to get involved in improving the community that they make home, and it's absolutely fantastic. The other meetings are as listed in item 8. You can see we've been doing quite a bit of getting out and about. A really important meeting for us is coming up soon, and we'll be very shortly releasing the date, and that is a community catch-up. So we want to hold a coffee morning. We'll make ourselves available, and we're really hoping that people will come and have a cuppa on us and let us know what they're thinking, their thoughts on future direction, and particularly for the time that we have available. So keep your eyes peeled. We'll be advertising that through the normal channels, and very much looking forward to ongoing engagement with the community. So thanks again very much for having us. Okay, moving on to item 5, response to previous questions. All responses to questions taken on notice at the Ordinary Council meeting held on 29 October 2025 have been included in this evening's agenda. Moving on to item 6, public time. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an opportunity for members of the public to ask questions of Council. Clause 6.73 of the Town of Port Hedland Standing Orders Local Law requires members of the public wishing to ask a question to complete a question form and place the completed form in the tray provided. If myself as a presiding member determine that questions or statements are out of order due to the use of offensive or objectionable expressions or are defamatory, they will not be considered, recorded nor responded to. Public questions are allocated a minimum of 15 minutes under the Act. Public questions and statements received in writing will be provided the opportunity to present first, followed by other members of the public. So public question time. I declare public question time open at 5:38 p.m. CEO, have we received any questions prior to the meeting?
No, we haven't, Chair.
Okay, do any members of the public wish to answer the questions? Ask questions. You can answer them on the 29th of March if you've run for council. Thank you. Come forward, state your name and suburb. Please remember to fill in a public question time form if you haven't already done so.
Hello, everybody. I'm sure you missed me at the last couple of meetings, but I was occupied.
Sorry, could you state your name for the record, please?
Camillo Blanco.
Thank you.
From Harwell Way. Now, I have, actually, I have some paperwork here for you in relation to this, this question. If you'd like, I'll just hand it to you. So while I was on council, I requested an investigation into why Phil was being carted from the airport to the Pier Hotel site, from the PFOS contaminated site at the airport land area. Now, I received some complaints from some business owners that weren't happy with what was going on, and also I've received some complaints that the PFOS contaminated cells were being used for private business use, and contaminated soil was being parked there as well from a private business owner here in town. Now, I sent that complaint to the CEO, acting CEO. That's why I'm talking about this tonight, because the acting is leaving, and also the LG Director General, who told me, and you have the letter there, he told me on the 26th of August 25 that the acting CEO would be updating me after the investigation was complete. So I haven't been updated. Can you tell me if commissioners have been told about the PFOS issue that I have informed the town about, and the department? And you'll see the people I've listed in there, the Minister and Department of Local Government, as well as...
That's your first question, sir?
No, I'll just take this all as a question because you have the info. I don't really want a answer yet. You know, you can give me a... you take this one on notice because there's a fair bit of info there. So it's about PFOS contaminated issue. It's about dirt being sold. It's town's dirt that's been sold to a third party. It's about concrete processing next to the airport airstrip. It's about compliance with CASA. And I want to know if you know about this, have you been informed about this as commissioners, and has there been an investigation done? So I'm happy to take that on notice so you can have a look at it, but I would like some answers to that.
Thank you for the question. To your first question, which is have we been informed, the answer to that question is no.
Okay.
Is there an investigation underway? To my knowledge, no. So they are the two questions that you've asked us. Do you have a third?
Like I said, I'd like you to take this on notice. I want this in writing because it's serious.
So your third question is, would we be willing to take it on notice?
No, this is my first question. This,
Mr. Camillo, Mr. Blanco, members of the public have 3 questions, and there's 15 minutes for public statements and for public question time. You've asked 2 questions already. Were we informed, and is there an investigation underway? So you've provided us with a very comprehensive package of documents. If your third question is, would we be prepared to look into this matter for you and take it on notice, then I can absolutely, excuse me, I have the call. We can very happily do that. However, if you have a different third question, which is not related to taking this detailed matter on notice, then by all means, your time, sir.
I have stated in my question here that I would like you to take this on notice so I can get a detailed answer. That was my whole question there.
Then I would encourage you to make your questions brief, because as I say, there's a lot of people that might want to have a say tonight, and we are trying to allocate time fairly between individuals. So I'd encourage you, given that you have asked 2 questions, you have a third question, and please go ahead.
Okay, I have a few issues with the next subject. So again, I'd like you to take this on notice so I can get a detailed response.
I just remind you, Mr. Blanco, it's actually at the chair's discretion whether questions are taken on notice.
Okay.
So, but by all means, you are also welcome to correspond with the commissioners and also with the CEO with more detailed information or detailed requests for information. So this evening isn't the only opportunity that you get to submit questions to us.
I have informed the acting CEO about this item being listed. I'd like to know, has the town been served or received the writ issued by Pitt? I'd like to know if the town is the primary person in the writ, and how does that affect all of the people listed on the writ? I would like to know whether I'm correct in saying that the Act specifically states in these matters in relation to legal action against former council members acting in good faith, that they are covered by the town. And
Okay, so we're now running into 6 or 7 questions.
yes,
So
because it's important.
Absolutely it is, Mr. Blanco,
Yes.
and as I very clearly explained to you, there are all sorts of mechanisms through which you can ask multiple questions, but you get 3 in a council meeting. So the first question that you ask there is, have we been served with or received a writ? The answer is no. If you have further questions that you'd like to put to us in writing, you're very welcome to. Thank you. Do we have any further questions? Thank you. Good evening. If you'd like to state your name for the record and your address.
Good evening, Commissioners and CEO and staff at Town of Port Hedland. My name is Jan Kuchera-Gillingham and I reside in Port Hedland at 3 Simmons Street in Cook Point. I just have a few questions, and I'd just like to make mention about what the first question will be about, just very briefly, and then ask my question if I may. The cyclone earlier this year in February took out a lot of very high and very older trees, in fact over 1,000 trees. I think our staff would probably know exactly how many trees that were lost, and it took a long time to clean up these trees, and which has resulted in our birds, our native birds, our hawks and our eagles and residential birds, they've lost their habitats. I'd like to ask the Town of Port Hedland what has been put or what can be put in place to replant fast-growing trees, which these birds of prey, especially our native birds, so that they can actually survive because they are resident birds in our town.
Thank you for the question. I'll refer that to the CEO.
Through you, Chair, to the Director of Infrastructure Services.
Thank you for the question. So the town has tried to save as many trees as it could, and you might notice trees which have been supported with ropes and weights to, to keep them standing. We've also got a significant tree planting program. We are growing trees at our nursery, and BHP also gave us $100,000 towards mature trees. We've got a significant tree planting program along Murdoch, which I think there is something on the paper tonight, and we will continue to be growing and planting trees in order to ensure good environmental outcomes for the town.
Thank you, Director. Thank you for that. Much appreciated. My next question is regarding fresh water for our native birds, etc., in our town, many seabirds. We see today in McGregor Street many ibis birds that are actually on the soccer oval, and an amazing soccer oval, by the way, Commissioners. A lot of work has gone into that, and I thank very much for our soccer club. We have these birds which are actually eating a lot of grubs and that we don't need any chemicals put anywhere as well. So that's another issue I'd like to address at another time. But the water ponds, which used to be in Cook Point Drive for the effluent water, were relocated to South Hedland quite a number of years ago. There were many, many of our seabirds, pelicans, etc., which is actually, it was their home. They now have moved out to the South Hedland refuge tip. There are hundreds and thousands of them, and they're seeking fresh water. What can the town of Port Hedland do in the future to have some sort of a freshwater ponds area for these birds? We also have migratory birds. I'd like to find out what our town can do. I know we have a Care for Hedland, but Care for Hedland seem to support more of our other animals, turtles, etc. I'd like us to see whether we can marry together people from the community that we could do this.
Thank you, Ms Gillingham. I'm very conscious that technically, in 3 minutes, public question time comes to an end. I can, at my discretion, extend it, but it looks like there's a few people that might want to have a say tonight.
Yeah.
So if we can this evening, folks, if we do want to get through this, let's make it short and sweet.
Yes,
I will refer that question to the CEO. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Again, through you, Chair, to the Director of Infrastructure.
Not an easy night tonight. It's good.
Tonight.
It's good. Look, I haven't actually ever considered that, but we would like to provide you a more fuller explanation and look at what may or may not be able to be done for that issue.
Much appreciated. Yeah. If we can, I'd like that. Thank you. Thank you very much, Commissioners.
Thank you. Do we have any further questions? Please come forward, state your name and address.
Good afternoon, Ash Christensen, South Hedland. Firstly, apologies. This was intended to come see you guys last month, but unfortunately I was out of town, so I'm just trying to catch up with it this month. First question, can someone please clarify whether a whole of life costing model / document has been completed for the JD Hardy Stage 3 BMX pump track outdoor elements, and whether any supporting documentation, such as a business plan, is existing?
Refer that to the CEO.
Through you, Chair, to the Director of Infrastructure.
Some whole-of-life costs have been calculated, and that was done as part of our submission to, I think, Lotteries West, and we are updating that at the moment, and there is no business plan done for that project.
Thank you. Your second question?
Thank you. Can you please outline what benchmarking or research has been undertaken to justify the proposed $8.7 million costs for the pump track, jump track / JD Stage 3, please?
To the CEO.
Chair, through you to the Director of Infrastructure.
There was significant research done on pump tracks in the state, including those in our near neighbours, and it was also subject to public consultation and consultation with the council at the time. The consultation for the plan that was put to elected members at that time was that it lacked a wow factor, and so they wanted, I guess, more scope in that project, so that made the project more expensive. We have also looked at and talked to track users and other local governments on what the best materials are for that pump track, and of course when you put the Pilbara factor on things, what would ordinarily be a $4.5 million project when it comes to build in Port Hedland is significantly more.
Thank you. And your third question?
What performance measures or baseline indicators has the town established to assess the future success of the JD Stage 3 project? Specifically, what key performance indicators have been identified now prior to construction to allow a meaningful evaluation once the facility is operational?
To the CEO.
Director of Infrastructure, Chair.
I think in terms of the key performance indicators, As part of the master planning for the JD, which was undertaken in, I think, 2019, a needs analysis was undertaken, and that informed the items that would be part of that master plan, and that included a number of things like the outdoor basketball courts, the pump track, the upgrading of the JD Hardy Centre. So you may recall it was reconfigured and added to, so there were dance studios, the courts were refurbished, there was a new youth zone that was built, and you know, it was generally given a really good spruce up. All of the landscaping was improved, and so that needs analysis talked about what the needs of the town was. Now that that has been, that master plan is nearing completion, the town will undertake a review of that needs analysis to ensure that those needs have been fulfilled through that work the town has done.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any further questions? Please come forward, state your name and address.
Yeah, good evening, Commissioners and Administration. Adrian McRae from Leahay Street, Wedgfield. Tony Brown, the ex-Deputy CEO of Wolga, who Minister Beazley recently appointed as a WA Local Government Inspector, he gave ex-councillors Blanco and Christensen advice that a full council resolution was needed to authorise the acting CEO's contract extension. Your responses to the questions in the October OCM talk to the appointment of the acting CEO, but they don't answer the specific questions which were asked, which were pertaining to the contract extension which was granted unilaterally and quite possibly illegally by the ex-mayor himself. So I ask you again, was Tony Brown mistaken in advising councillors Blanco and Christensen that the appointment of a supplementary employment contract required a new absolute majority decision of council?
We'll take that on notice. I would refer you to the answer previously provided, but we will take that on notice to see what additional information we can provide you about the legal advice that we also acquired on that particular matter.
I do have a comment in the next question about your response. Your comments on the North West Telegraph on Tuesday, 2nd of September, stated that you, Commissioner Shaw, planned on being very open, very transparent and very collaborative with the local community. So can you please answer the specific questions that the community asks rather than giving us diversionary answers to questions that we didn't ask, to questions that we already know the answer to? We know how he was appointed originally back in November last year. What we're asking for was the extension that was granted by the Mayor unilaterally himself without any say-so or any...
Thank you. As I say, we provided an answer. I've just undertaken to provide further information. So I think that the pejorative nature of your second question isn't exactly collaborative in tone itself either, Mr. McRae.
Okay. Final question. Friday the 22nd of August, Minister Beazley came out of nowhere and blatantly lied to the ABC, stating that the Port Hedland...
I also will rule slanderous or defamatory or pejorative comments out of order. I just warn you, caution you with the use of your language, please.
Sure. Okay, I'll start again. On Friday the 22nd of August, Minister Beazley...
All right, I'm going to rule that question out of order. Honestly, I am one that's all for constructive questioning, but if you're thinking that you're going to be able to come into this chamber and undertake pejorative, potentially slanderous or defamatory statements around, then that is certainly not in the best interest of the long-term good governance of Port Hedland. It's certainly not the sort of community building work that we're trying to do here. As I've said on many occasions, The minister's decisions with respect to the previous council are her own. Her rationalisations are her own to make. We won't enter into debate about that. That's not what we're here to do. We're here to steady the ship, to try and get the council in good working order so that on the 29th of March, a newly elected council can get on and hopefully govern the town of Port Hedland local government well. If people don't like that, then I'm afraid when I'm chair of this meeting, I'm just not going to hear that sort of slanderous, defamatory conduct. Do we have any further questions? Thank you. Please come forward and state your name.
Hi, it's Renee Coles, Green Place, South Hedland. Good evening, everyone. I've only got 3 questions here. The first one is during COVID, it was highly spoken about learning musical instruments to overcome mental health, etc. With the upcoming 50 years of the Pilbara Music Festival, will the town of Port Hedland be able to play a bigger active part in the preparation through collaboration with the music festival organisers?
I think that sounds like an absolutely great idea. I'll refer to the CEO for more specific information on what can be done in terms of supporting the work around the upcoming 50th festival.
Through you, Chair, to the Director of Community Services.
Through the Chair, thank you. Look, I think it might be best that you come and meet with the team and we'll sit down and work through what we can do, but certainly we'll love to be involved in that event.
Awesome.
Thank you. Your second question?
The next one is the gift register for the mayor and councillors up to date?
I certainly haven't received any gifts myself. I'll ask the, I'll ask the CEO.
Through you, Chair, to the Director of Corporate Services.
Thank you. Through the Chair, I would like to believe so. There is an annual check of it, but Ms Coles will confirm that and I'll reach out to you and get back to you.
Awesome, thanks, Dave.
I will say I got a lovely bunch of flowers when I smashed the bottle on the hull of the HMAS Pilbara. I should probably declare that. Please, your third question.
My next one is, has there been any relocating of any potential contaminated substance at the Port Hedland depot tip into a pit that may not have been lined?
I refer that question to the CEO.
We'll take that on notice, Chair.
We'll take that question on notice and get back to you.
And so sorry for not getting these in advance to you. Thank you.
Are there any further questions? Please come forward and state your name and address.
Good evening, Gillian Fisher, 3 Mitchie Crescent, South Hedland. I have some questions about the video surveillance policy that has been on the website with the attachments in the agenda for tonight's meeting. Now, I've read through the policy and I just want to know a few questions. Has the list of camera locations been updated on the website and where can we find it? I've been following this issue since 2023, November 2023, when the business that I work for has been broken into. And so obviously security issues are a big thing for us in Wedgfield. And at this point in time, I still cannot find an updated list of surveillance cameras in Wedgfield.
Okay, thank you. To the CEO.
Through you, Chair, to the Director of Infrastructure.
Currently, we are undertaking a large project to install more cameras, and that is ongoing. And once that has finished, we will update the map.
Thank you. Do you have a second question?
Yes, I have 2 others, please. Okay, so in saying that, I've also just read through the policy here, and it says number 10 under system security, I find is sort of quite against just my question that I came here to ask. Part 10, system security, details about video surveillance or camera locations, their maintenance schedule and other details relating to their make model and any other operational requirements will not be made publicly available unless required by law. So I'm not quite sure what you were just speaking about then, but that actually goes against exactly what we in Wedgfield need. We need to know where our cameras are. I don't see why it needs to be a covert surveillance against the residents of Wedgfield.
I suspect that there'll be two parts to this answer. Certainly, sometimes it's good that the crooks don't know where the cameras are, and secondly, it's good that they don't know what types of cameras they are so that they're less vulnerable to attack. But I'll refer to the CEO.
Thank you, Chair, to the Director of Infrastructure.
Thank you for the question. So what we generally do is don't release footage unless the police ask us, and then there's a protocol about how we release that. We have, our best practice is to show where the locations are, and the locations that we have are generally on heavily used roads and in areas where there's one way in, or limited ways of getting into places, and at areas to protect public infrastructure. So we don't provide a lot of information about our cameras, and that is to keep that network secure.
Just would add to that, Commissioner Aldridge has just brought to my attention that Section 10 of the policy is actually the existing policy. So that has been the case for quite some time. We're basically in that part of the policy, that has been the case for quite some time. There's actually no change to what the current situation is. But of course, very legitimate that you ask the question. But just for clarification. Your third question?
Yes, just going back to, what the Commissioner on your left has just said then. So are you saying that this has been superseded in the red information?
No, my understanding is that provision 10 is the existing policy, and in the policy the revised draft that's before Council for decision tonight, there's no changes proposed for that particular part of the policy. That remains unchanged from where we currently are today. Other elements of the policy, though, are revised as shown in the agenda papers.
Okay, I just asked because I know in the previous policy there was 3 cameras in fairly close location in Wedgfield, and now there's been a new camera installed at the wheelbarrow, which makes 4 cameras in that very close location. So I'm not quite sure if there was, superseded and some were taken out, or what is the go there?
I think Ms Vaness provided a bit of an answer to that question with her first response around the plan with respect to locations and the like, but that's 3 questions. By all means, if you want follow-up questions, you're very welcome to correspond with us or come back to a subsequent meeting, and we'd be happy to take your questions.
Yeah, okay, thank you for your time.
Okay, are there any further questions? All right, there being no further questions, I declare public question time closed at 6:10 p.m. Now, folks, the time for public questions and statements has well and truly expired, but there's obviously a real interest. So I'm very happy to extend public statement time, so that we do, so far as is possible and reasonable, give people the opportunity to speak for their up to 5 minutes on a topic, whichever topic they choose. So I declare public statement time open at 6:11 p.m. CEO, have we received any public statements?
No, we haven't, Chair.
Okay, do any members of the public wish to make a statement? Yes, please come forward and state your name and address.
Good afternoon. My name's Danielle Lockyer, Pundle Avenue in South, and this is my daughter Summer Lockyer. Let me just bring it up. We come to say thank you so much for sending through some excellent news. Our club and the girls, Summer Lockyer, Annalie Winwood, Hayley Madison, Ella Whitby, Naomi Brockman and Alira Brahm are absolutely thrilled with the outcome from the Town of Port Hedland Community Champions Grant process. We happily accept the terms and conditions as stated in the letters that we received. If these girls are selected while over in Brisbane, they will be selected in their age level to travel to New South Wales, South Pacific Islands, Melbourne and New Zealand, Gold Coast, and then the girls continue to be netball ambassadors for WA and Port Hedland. And I would like to say a big thank you and acknowledge the Town of Port Hedland Country Champions Grant for making this possible.
Thank you for the support and the opportunity.
That's all. Thank you.
Well, wishing you the very best of luck, and go out there and do us proud, as I'm sure you will do. So go you. All right, do we have any further public statements? Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Camilo Blanco from Harwell Way, Wedgefield. Just a few comments from tonight's meeting. If the Town of Port Hedland had a look at, the meetings I ran when I was mayor, the presiding member did make a statement about things that were going on in the town, a comprehensive statement at every meeting. So maybe we should just implement the changes I made when I was mayor and bring them back, because clearly they've been kicked out, and things have changed dramatically since I was in the chair. Now, the comments made tonight about from one of the members of the public about the pump track. I think at the last meeting, the commissioners approved the master plan, and then there's funding commitments within the item to move forward with tenders. But we find out tonight that there's no business case. Now, you would be well aware that something that expensive should have a business case attached to it, so we know exactly what's going on with the costs associated with such a large piece of expenditure from our ratepayers' money. So that's something for you commissioners to think about, because when we were talking about that as councillors, we were demanding the business case, and we were not receiving the business case. That's why that project was stalled. We wanted the paperwork in place. Now, my understanding is that the Local Government Act requires a business case, and then it also requires the town to understand the costs associated with that project, put it into the long-term financial plan, then be able to calculate rates accordingly. That's how it works. We were asking for it, we were not getting it. Okay, so maybe you guys can ask the question after tonight's meeting and find out why. The ex-mayor has been in the media talking about the March 2026 elections being canned, that they may be pushed further into the year or not be held at all. Now, obviously, I don't, think much of what he says, but I was at a SAT hearing defending a bogus charge that the town had put on me a few weeks back, and the State Solicitor's Office mentioned it. So I would like to know if the state government is actually planning on pushing the March election out. And I would like to know whether your commissioners know about it. Because why would the State Solicitor's Office actually mention it in the proceedings? So, something else for you to think about. Now, obviously I'm not happy with the way the chair is conducting public question time. When I ran the meeting, yes, it went a little bit longer because I allowed people to ask the questions and take them on notice.
You
So
have
then
1 minute left.
We had an understanding of what they wanted to know. By knocking them on the head and cutting them off like you obviously are going to do in the next few months, you are not really going to get an understanding of what the people are actually wanting in this town. You obviously don't know because you've already, approved a camp, another camp, or, are about to okay another camp. I was watching the DAP meeting that you had, the 1,600-man camp in South Hedland. We don't need more camps in this place. We need residential housing. And for you to be supporting that, you're clearly well off the mark.
We took extensive briefings on the pump track, including a detailed understanding of which councillors attended those briefings and which councillors were involved in all decision points and the development of that project. And I can tell you it was very telling. As to the decision that the state government may make or not, we have no visibility of that. And as to the DAP decision, that is televised and on the public record. Do we have any further public statements?
Ash Christensen, South Hedland. Firstly, thanks for extending public statement time, much appreciated. Firstly, I want to make it absolutely clear that I fully support the concept of a pump and jump track here in Hedland. I believe it's the logical and much needed progression in our public recreation assets, one that would benefit not only our youth, but adults, families, and one of our strongest sporting organisations, the Hedland BMX. However, I do wish to formally place the following concerns on the record. Firstly is the project cost. Based on my research of similar facilities across Western Australia, projects of a similar scale typically range between $3 to $4 million. The reported $8.7 million estimate for this proposal, therefore, appears significantly excessive. I believe the community deserves confidence that the costings and benchmarks against the industry standard facilities and that are delivered by other local governments and not against gold-plated wants over the needs for this community. The second concern I have is its location. I strongly disagree with the proposed location. Best practice and common practice shows that the pump track and jump tracks work most effectively when co-located with skate parks, as they allow for integrated programming and similar user groups such as skaters, scooters, BMX riders and other youth recreational providers. A more logical site, in my opinion, would be adjacent to the South Hedland Skate Park, as it provides and delivers all those items, while it would also prevent the ongoing practice of duplicating and dispersing similar recreational assets across the town, as has been the approach over the past few decades. The third concern I have was the whole-of-life costings and long-term financial impact. As we heard here today, there seems to be some documentations created for the whole-of-life costings for the project. It would be great to see this detail made available to the community when these items come to Council for a decision, as was the case for last month. I'm concerned that an upfront cost of nearly $9 million to a community asset without a clear understanding of long-term financial impacts, including ongoing maintenance, renewals, depreciation, and more importantly, activation resourcing, can lead to these types of assets sitting not utilised to their fullest ability. And the last concern I have is activation and program capacity building. The town has historically struggled to consistently activate and program similar town assets already in place. I'm concerned that adding another major facility without addressing this underlying issue risks compounding operational challenges rather than solving them. We have seen these sort of projects come and go without having any lasting positive impacts on this town, namely the Wave Rider that was located at the South Hedland Aquatic Centre, the splash park that was in South, and the fourth mentioned South Headland Skate Park, which remains limitedly and intentionally activated, just to name a few projects. So in closing, I wish to reiterate that I strongly support the inclusion of a pump and jump track here in Headland. My concerns are not against the concept, but in support of delivering it responsibly, effectively, and in the right location to ensure its long-term success. I respectfully request and ask the Commissioners to review the benchmarking and cost justification, reconsider the proposed location, ensure they understand the whole-of-life costing modelling to ensure that we are not creating an issue for the community down the road, and ensure activation planning is addressed prior to the building staging commencing. Thank you for your time.
As I say, we received extensive briefings about the genesis and development of that project. We saw the very extensive work that had gone into community consultation and the councillors' deliberations over time. That was something that was detailed as well in the submissions that were made to the council meeting at which the next phase of that project was approved, and I would direct you to the relevant papers. I'd like to put on the record again our sincere thanks to the Headland BMX Club for hosting us, for making deputations, and we, even today, speaking to the Youth Advisory Council, those kids are very excited about that facility, and certainly communicated to us that the JD Hardy Centre is a really important heart of the town for young people. Do we have any further public statements? Thank you. Please come forward and state your name.
Gillian Fisher, 3 Michi Crescent. I'd just like to thank, I apologise for not knowing your position, lead Commissioner, Major Commissioner, Commissioner Shaw. I'd thank you for your information that you've given me today in my question. Coming to these council meetings, I've forgone wages to appear and ask questions and support others in their endeavour to find out their answers as well. Residents of this town are very passionate in the direction of their town, and we also encourage new, young and old residents by watching the live stream, bringing up confidence, coming to the meetings, and then, you know, getting up and asking questions and whatever else about issues in their town. I'd just like to ask if you and the other commissioners could please temper your attitude a little bit to residents' concerns. Residents are obviously going to be here long after, like, you people will take on your next position, and we will be the people that will be picking up in March or whenever the elections are. So we need to be across these. We need to have these answers to our questions finished and then finalised and not shut down during debate. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your statement, and as I say, question time and public time is limited, and we do want to try and give as many people as possible the opportunity to have their questions asked and to provide answers. And so we do encourage people to be succinct, and if they have extensive, very complex questions, then we always encourage people to submit those questions in writing, because it's just a lot easier for us to provide those answers. So, you know, we're trying to give as many people an opportunity as possible, and I have extended, every time there's been a good showing, always extended public question or public time to give people the opportunity to both ask their questions and then subsequently have their say, and we'll continue to do that. But it means that, you know, where there is a lot of interest, people do need to think of other people and give everybody an opportunity, and we're certainly very encouraging of that. Are there any further public statements? There being no further public statements, I declare public statement time closed at 6:25 p.m. Item 7, questions from commissioners without notice. Are there any questions from the commissioners? No? Item 9, declarations of commissioners to have given due consideration to all matters contained in the business paper before the meeting. I invite all commissioners to declare by a show of hands that they've given due consideration to all matters contained within the agenda. Thank you. Item 10, confirmation of minutes of previous meeting. We have an officer's recommendation as displayed on the screen that requires a simple majority vote. Can I have a mover?
I so move, Chair.
Thank you. And a seconder?
I second the motion.
Is anyone against or wish to speak to the motion?
No, thank you.
As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by simple majority. Item 11, there are no reports of audit risk compliance committees. Item 12, reports of officers. Item 12.1, corporate services. 12.1.1, statement of financial activity. We have an officer's recommendation as displayed on the screen that requires a simple majority vote. Can I have a mover?
I'll move the officer's recommendation, Chair.
Thank you. And a seconder?
I second the recommendation.
Is anyone against or wish to speak to the motion? As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by simple majority. Item 12.1.2, investment advisory services. We have an officer's recommendation as displayed on the screen that requires a simple majority vote. Can I have a mover? 90,000.
It's not on this document up there.
Ah.
I'm happy to move with the inclusion of the figure of 90,000.
Just to be clear, you're moving an amendment to the motion as written and for the inclusion of the sum of 90,000?
Chair, I'm happy to move the motion, or the officer's recommendation as published in the agenda, which does include the value of $90,000.
Okay. And a seconder to that motion?
So move. Second.
Okay. Is anyone against or wish to speak to the motion? As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by simple majority. Item 12.1.3, policy review. We have an officer's recommendation as displayed on the screen that requires a simple majority vote. Can I have a mover?
Madam Chair, could I beg leave of the council, yes, to split this recommendation up to deal with policy 4006, election caretaker period, and 1031 Merrill Chain as separate items?
I have a seconder for that motion.
I'll second the motion.
Is anyone, well, there's nobody against the motion. As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by a simple majority. So we shall deal with the first motion, which is to consider all the other policies as listed there. So can I have a mover that council adopts policy 1/001, policy 1/030, policy 4/011, policy 6/006, and policy 15/003, and rescinds policy 3/003. Can I have a seconder for that motion?
I'll second.
Does anyone wish to speak to that motion? As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by simple majority. Commissioner Jurjevic, would you like to propose a subsequent motion?
Thank you, Chair. In relation, I will move that the council adopts policy 1./031 Merrill Chain the deletion of the words, "The Deputy Mayor may wear the Merrill Chain in accordance with this policy when acting on behalf of the Mayor," and under restrictions, remove the words "or by the Deputy Mayor when formally acting as Mayor in accordance with this policy.
Do I have a seconder to that motion?
I'll second the motion.
Would a commissioner like to speak to the motion?
Yes, Chair. The Merrill Chain is the chain of office for the Mayor. It is never in my experience ever been utilised by the Deputy Mayor. I can understand why this is in here, but it is the chain of office of the Mayor, therefore the Mayor can only wear the chain of office.
Commissioner Aldridge, do you wish to speak to the motion? As a motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by simple majority. I move that that policy 4/006 elections caretaker period be referred to the CEO for further briefings and brought back to a meeting at a future date. Could I have a seconder?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. I'll just make a brief statement with regard to our reasons for, or my reasons for moving this motion. The Local Government Act contains a number of provisions now that govern the caretaker period, and there are also some things in this policy that we just want to run some checks are consistent with the Local Government Act. So we are, well, I move that we defer the consideration of this policy to give us an opportunity to be appropriately and fully briefed into those changes under the Local Government Act. Have a seconder. So we'll take a vote on the motion. As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by a simple majority. Okay, item 12.1.4, 2026 Council and Committee Meeting Schedule. We have an officer's recommendation as displayed on the screen that requires a simple majority vote. Can I have a mover?
So moved, Chair.
Can I have a seconder?
Second the motion.
Does anyone against the motion or wish to speak to the motion?
I will say a few words.
Commissioner Aldridge?
I just wanted to indicate here that this is perhaps a slight departure from the ordinary sitting schedule for Council in that we're scheduling a meeting in January, and I think that aligns with Council's intent to get the town in the best order possible, ready to hand over to a new Council in late March following elections. So it is necessary for us to continue the work of Council in January when it wouldn't ordinarily be the practice here in the town of Port Hedland. And there may, and if I can signal that there may well even be other occasions required to deal with other matters via special Council meetings. So I support the officer's recommendation.
Thank you, Commissioner Aldridge. Commissioner Jurovich, do you wish to speak to the motion? As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by simple majority. Item 12.1.5, electors' motion for appointment of 2 elected members for advocacy purposes, deferred by Council, 25th of June 2025, Ordinary Council meeting. We have an officer's recommendation as displayed on the screen that requires a simple majority vote. Can I have a mover?
I'll move the officer's recommendation, Chair.
And a seconder?
I second the motion.
Does anyone wish to, does anyone wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Commissioner Aldridge.
Thank you, Chair. I support the officer's recommendation found here at 12.1.5, and in doing so I struggle to understand that it has taken Council 8 months to discharge this matter. This motion purports to address safety concerns with vaccination in the context of pandemic response. The real safety concern, in my view, is the perpetuation of misinformation, including here in the Pilbara, in relation to vaccine safety. In 2024, it was estimated that 154 million lives, and I'll repeat that again, 154 million lives had been saved in the preceding 50 years attributable to vaccination. The large majority of these lives were infants. This year, we're seeing a major increase in measles transmission, and the epicentre is right here in the Pilbara, where the infection rate is 18.74 per 100,000 people, compared to the state average of 2.16 per 100,000 people. Measles was once considered eradicated in Australia. However, declining vaccination levels are compromising this achievement. A similar story can be told internationally in relation to polio. The remit of local government is as diverse as the community it represents. I will always defend the sector when it comes under attack and told to stick to rates, roads and rubbish. For example, Climate change, strictly speaking, is not an area of policy under the direct control of local government, but it is local government at the forefront of climate change response. Natural disasters, coastal erosion, bushfire, heatwave events all impact our communities. However, the burden of my frustration on this issue falls to this. Why is it that in a community, in a region where we have such high rates of avoidable death, particularly in our Aboriginal community, that a handful of electors and ultimately council could focus so much misplaced resource on this issue to the detriment of all others? Where has been their advocacy for improved aged care and age-appropriate housing in the Pilbara? Where are the electors' motions addressing at times long waits to access primary care via a general practitioner, not because we cannot attract them or house them, but because we have insufficient levels of childcare to support their families? Where is their outrage that at any given time we have a dozen or more people waiting for renal dialysis who often wait more than 200 days to receive care locally, whilst in the meantime we ship them to Perth, away from their country, their community and their support network? Where is the elected member delegation to address the above-average suicide rates here in the Pilbara, and an advocacy plan to address the lack of mental health support and services in our region? I could continue, Chair. However, my frustration on this issue is representative of exactly what I've heard from the community itself in the last 2 months. They are fed up with exactly this type of nonsense. It has distracted council from providing good government to the people of Hedland, and the sooner we discharge this matter and get on with the business of actually addressing real community concerns and issues, the better.
Hear, hear. Commissioner Aldridge, do you wish to speak to the motion?
No.
Oh, Jurovic, sorry, it's getting late. Sorry.
One's enough.
Yeah. Okay. As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by simple majority. Item 12.2.1, Community Engagement Framework. We have an officer's recommendation as displayed on screen that requires a simple majority vote. Can I have a mover?
So moved, Chair.
And a seconder?
I second the motion.
Is anyone against the motion or wish to speak to the motion? As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by simple majority. Item 12.3, 12.3.1, Local Planning Policy 01, Exemptions from Development Approval, Final Adoption. We have an officer's recommendation as displayed on the screen that requires a simple majority vote. Can I have a mover?
I move the motion.
Thank you. And a seconder?
Second.
Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by simple majority. Item 12.3.2, Spallbank Marina Playground Naming. We have an officer's recommendation as displayed on screen that requires a simple majority vote. Can I have a mover?
So moved, Chair.
And a seconder?
Second.
Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by simple majority. Item 12.3.3, Airport Precinct Road Naming Proposal Amendment. We have an officer's recommendation as displayed on screen that requires a simple majority vote. Can I have a mover?
I so move the motion.
And a seconder?
Second.
Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by a simple majority. Item 12.4, Infrastructure Services, 12.4.1, Staff Housing, Disposal of Residential Property. Have an officer's recommendation as displayed on the screen that requires a simple majority vote. Can I have a mover?
So moved, Chair.
And a seconder?
I second the motion.
Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by simple majority. Item 12.4.2, Award of RFT 2526-03, Rose Nowers Childcare Park Upgrade, Baronia Close Road Safety Improvements. We have two officers' recommendations as displayed on the screen. The first requires an absolute majority. Can I have a mover?
I so move.
And a seconder? Does anyone wish to speak to the motion?
Madam Chair, the officer's recommendation 2 doesn't have a figure on it on the public screen.
Oh, I note that. It doesn't have a figure on my agenda paper.
It does on mine.
It does on yours? Yep. Would you like to move an amendment to the motion?
You're just dealing with the first recommendation first.
Okay, let's unwind things. Let's deal with the two separately.
I got things in the first
I've got figures in the first one, but not in the second one.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll move officers' recommendation number 1 as shown on the screen. Requires an absolute majority vote. Can I have a mover?
I so move.
And a seconder?
Second.
So no one is against the motion. The motion is carried by absolute majority. Commissioner Aldridge, I understand you wish to move an amendment to officers' recommendation number 2.
I might just move the officer's recommendation in amended form. So that is the inclusion of the amount of $1,500,774.
Okay.
Seconded.
As the amended motion requires a simple majority, is anyone against the motion? So no one is against the motion. I declare the motion carried by simple majority. Item 12.4.3, Project Governance Guidelines. We have an officer's recommendation as displayed on screen that requires a simple majority vote. Can I have a mover?
I so move.
And a seconder?
Seconded.
Does anyone wish to speak to the motion?
I might just make some brief remarks on this one. I think this has certainly been an area of focus for the commissioners in the last couple of months. That is, particularly as we gear up towards, and it'll be for the future council, to make some significant decisions around capital works and investment pipeline. And I think this is a really positive step in the right direction in terms of major project governance. And I'd like to thank the team at the town and the staff that have put a lot of work in. We've received many briefings and many iterations of this process as it's been developed. I'm sure there's more work to be done, but I think this is heading in the right direction.
Yes, I'd just like to add my own thanks to the team for their work on this. I think particularly as we do move into the execution, or hopefully the town moves into the execution of major works, project governance and the ability to have appropriate scrutiny during project execution is very important, and that is something that has been included in the project governance guidelines that you see before you. And so thank you to the team for your work on that. As the motion is not opposed, I carry the motion carried by a simple majority. I declare the motion carried, sorry. Item 12.4.4, RFT 2526/08, Murdoch Street Irrigation and Tree Installation. Note again that a total amount is not included in the agenda papers. So I will ask if a commissioner wishes to move an amendment to the officer's recommendation.
Chair, I'll move the officer's recommendation in amended form, and that is at part 1 to include the amount of $545,061.
Thank you. And a seconder to that amendment? Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? As the motion is not opposed, I declare the amended motion carried by simple majority. Item 12.5, Executive Services, there are nil. Item 13, New Business of an Urgent Nature, late items, there are nil. Item 14, motions of which previous notice has been given, there are nil. Item 15, matters for which meeting may be closed, confidential matters. Item 15.1, appointment of the Acting Chief Executive Officer. I wish to move a procedural motion that Council close the meeting to members of the public as prescribed in section 5.232 of the Local Government Act 1995 to consider item 15.1, appointment of the Acting Chief Executive Officer. Can I have a mover?
I so move.
And a seconder?
Seconded.
As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by simple majority. I ask that all members of the public leave the chambers at this time, but you're welcome to remain in the lobby until we reconvene. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'd now like to read the decision of Council on the confidential matter discussed for item 15.1, appointment of the Acting Chief Executive Officer. We had an officer's recommendation before us. There was an alternate motion that was actually moved, that Council appoints Ken Donohoe, who is considered to be a suitably qualified and experienced applicant as the Acting Chief Executive Officer, commencing on 28th of November 2025, on an interim basis for a period of 6 months, which may be extended by agreement between the Council and the appointee, but may not exceed 12 months in total or until a permanent Chief Executive Officer has been recruited and commenced employment. 2, offer a package comprising a salary of $330,000 cash component each year pro rata and superannuation of $48,000 pro rata to take account of the term in accordance with the Chief Executive Officer Band 1 determination of the Salaries and Allowances Tribunal outlined in Government Chief Executive Officers and Elected Members Determination No. 1 of 2025. Number 3, offer a regional/isolation allowance of $70,000 pro rata to take account of the term in addition to the salary and superannuation package in accordance with the determination of the Salaries and Allowances Tribunal outlined in Government Chief Executive Officers and Elected Members Determination No. 1 of 2025. Number 4, offer a motor vehicle of $28,554 and housing $58,760 nominal value pro rata to take account of the term in accordance with the determination of the Salaries and Allowances Tribunal outlined in Government Chief Executive Officers and Elected Members Determination No. 1 of 2025. Number 5, authorise the Chair of Commissioners under Section 9.49A4 of the Local Government Act 1995 to execute a contract of employment to facilitate the appointment in accordance with this resolution with administrative assistance from the Active Executive Manager, Human Resources. This motion was carried by an absolute majority. Congratulations, Mr. Donohoe. We very much look forward to working with you, and thanks again to Mr. Dacomb for his tenure as acting CEO. Item 16, closure. Item 16.1, date of next meeting. The next ordinary meeting of Council will be held on Wednesday, 10th of December 2025, commencing at 5:30 p.m. Closure. There being no further business, I declare the meeting closed at 7:28 p.m. I thank Commissioners, members of the public, the CEO and staff for their attendance.